Right, excellent, sir. You will introduce the officers to be installed.
Most Excellent High Priest Jason Vance. Excellent King Mark Eastwood. Excellent Scribe Oscar Ochoa. Captain of the Host Darren Bluenick. Principal Sojourner Matthew Woodard. Royal Arch Captain Andy Cole. Master of the Second Veil Past High Priest Christopher Choate. Master of the First Veil Past High Priest Gavin Swinney. And Companion Guard John Bradley. Good. Officers, rise. Most Excellent High Priest, I present the officers who have been selected to serve Richmond Chapter number 467 for the ensuing Capitular Year. I believe them to be skillful in the royal art and attentive to the moral precepts of the order. They have accepted the trust confided to them, and I ask that they be installed with the usual ceremonies.
The elected officers will advance. Just take one step forward. Elected officers only.
Just those three.
Companions, you have been elected to serve Richmond Chapter number 467 RAM for the ensuing Capitular Year. If you are willing to assume the duties of the office to which you have been elected, you will place your right hand over your heart and repeat the oath of office after me. I state your name. Do promise and swear that I will serve as and state your office for the term for which I have been elected and until my successor is duly installed. That I will perform the duties of my office to the best of my skill and ability and will obey and observe, support and maintain the Constitution and edicts of the Grand Royal Arch Chapter of Texas and the bylaws of this chapter. So help me God. You may be seated.
Most Excellent High Priest, I present to you Companion Jason Vance, who has been elected to serve this chapter as Most Excellent High Priest for the ensuing year.
Most excellent companion and my good friend, you have been elected by the companions of this chapter to fill the highest station within their gift, and to me has been assigned the pleasant duty of installing you therein. The office of High Priest is highly honorable to all those who diligently perform the important duties annexed to it. By frequent recurrence to the Constitution and general regulations of the Grand Royal Arch Chapter of Texas, and a constant study of our sublime signs, you will best be enabled to discharge them. I feel confident that the companions whom you have chosen to assist you will give you strength to your endeavors and support to all of your exertions. Before investing you with the insignia of your office, I must propose to you certain questions relative to the duties of the office, to which I would now request your unequivocal assent. There are several of these. You may answer affirmative at the end. Do you, sir, solemnly promise that you will redouble your efforts to correct the vices, purify the morals, and promote the happiness of all Royal Archmasons, members of your chapter? That you will never suffer your chapter to be opened unless there be present at least 5 regular Royal Archmasons? That you will never suffer either more or less than 3 brethren to be exalted in your chapter at one time, except in those cases specifically authorized by the Grand Royal Arch Chapter of Texas? That you will not exalt anyone to this degree who has not shown a charitable and humane disposition, or who has not made considerable proficiency in the preceding degrees. That you will promote the general good of our order, and, on all proper occasions, be ready and willing to impart instruction to receive the same, more particularly from the state grand officers. That to the utmost of your power you will require your chapter to preserve the solemnities of our ceremonies, and that you will behave in open chapter with the most profound respect and reverence for the order as an example to your companions. That you will not admit a visitor into your chapter who has not been exalted in a legally constituted chapter without first formally being healed. And finally, that you will bind your successor in office to the observance of the rules to which you now assent. Do you, sir, submit to all these things and promise to observe and practice them faithfully? Everyone will please rise for the prayer. Most holy and glorious God, the great high priest of heaven and earth, we approach thee with reverence and implore thy blessing upon this companion who has been elected to preside over this chapter. Fill his heart with fervor, that his words and actions may promote thy glory. Make him steadfast in thy service. Grant him firmness and kindness of disposition. Teach him to rule his companions with justice and equity. Animate his heart and strengthen his endeavors to do good. May the offerings he shall place upon the altar before thee be an acceptable sacrifice. Bless him, O Lord, and crown the work of his hands with success. Bless this chapter. Forgive us of our transgressions, and accept us in mercy. Amen.
So mote it be.
You may be seated. Most excellent, sir, having taken the oath of office and given a cheerful acquiesce to the charges read to you, you are now qualified for installation of High Priest of this chapter. And it becomes my duty to point out some of the particular duties appertaining to this office. The High Priest of a chapter has in its charge to see that the bylaws of the chapter, as well as the constitution and edicts of the Grand Chapter, are duly observed, that the officers of this chapter perform their respective duties faithfully and are examples of diligence and industry to the companions, that true and accurate records of all proceedings of this chapter are kept, that exact and just accounts are kept of all money and property of the chapter, that the annual returns are made accurately and promptly, and that annual dues are paid punctually as the Grand Chapter may require. You, sir, have the right and authority to convene this chapter at your pleasure. It is your duty and privilege to attend the annual convocation of the Grand Chapter, and fidelity to the order requires that this should not be taken lightly. The mitre which you are now symbolically invested remind you of the dignity of the office you now sustain, and its inscription impress upon your mind a sense of your dependence upon God. That perfect holiness belongeth unto the Lord. The breastplate which you symbolically now are decorated is an imitation upon which were engraven the names of the 12 tribes of Israel, is to teach you that you are always to bear in mind your responsibility to the laws and ordinances of this institution, and that the honor and interest of this chapter and its members should always be near your heart. The various colors of the robe which you symbolically wear are emblematical of every grace and virtue which can adorn and beautify the human mind, whose cultivation and constant practice are as necessary to your own present and future happiness as they are by the example that you will afford to the prosperity over the craft to whom you are now placed. I now present to you the Book of Law, the great light in every degree of masonry. The doctrines contained within this sacred volume inspire us in a belief of dispensations of a divine providence and enable us by the exercise of faith, hope, and charity to ascend the great Masonic ladder and enter into complete enjoyment of that land where our Heavenly Father forever reigns. I now give to you in charge the Constitution and edicts of the Grand Royal Arch Chapter of Texas and also the bylaws of this chapter. You will cause these to be frequently read and punctually obeyed. I now deliver to you in charge the charter under which you are authorized to work and by the authority of which this chapter exists. You will carefully preserve it and transmit it to your successor or to the grand chapter should necessity require. On behalf of the craft here assembled, I now offer our most sincere congratulations. I doubt not that you will govern with such discretion as to convince your companions that their partiality has not been misplaced. The companions of Richmond chapter 467 will rise. Companions, behold your high priest. Remember that the prosperity of this chapter will as much depend on your support, assistance, and obedience as on his assiduity, information, and wisdom. Right excellent sir, you will seat the most excellent high priest in his station. You may be seated. Right excellent sir, you'll present the excellent king for installation. Excellent companion, the important station to which you have been elected requires from you exemplary conduct. Its duties demand assiduous attention, and you are to aid the high priest in all the requirements of his office, and should casualties prevent him from their discharge, you will succeed him in the performance thereof. Your jewel, which is the level surmounted by a crown, should remind you that although you are the representative of a king and exalted in office above your companions, yet you remain upon a level with them with your respects to the duties, God, your neighbor, and yourself, that you are bound equally with them to be obedient to the laws and ordinances of this institution, to be charitable, humane, and just, and to seek every occasion for doing good. Your office teaches a striking lesson of humility. Political society teaches us to regard a king as the chief of created beings, and that the first duty of his subjects is to obey his mandates. However, Royal Arch Masonry, by placing the king in a station subordinate to that of high priest, teaches us that our duty to God is paramount to all other duties and should claim priority of our obedience to man. And that, however, we may be bound to obey the laws of civil society, yet these laws, to be just, should never interfere with matters of conscience or dictate articles of faith. The scarlet robe, which you are symbolically invested, is an emblem of royal dignity and should remind you of the paternal concern that you should ever feel for the welfare of your chapter, and the fervency and zeal with which you should endeavor to promote its prosperity. I now present to you symbolically a crown, which is an emblem of royalty, and I would remind you that in order to reign sovereign in the hearts and minds of men must be far more grateful and generous of a benevolent mind than to rule over their lives with fortunes, and that to enable you to enjoy this preeminence with honor and satisfaction, you must subject your passions and prejudices to the domain of reason and charity. You are now entitled to sit in the second seat of the chapter, and let the broad example of the illustrious predecessor and the Grand Council at Jerusalem stimulate you to the faithful discharge of your duties. And when the King of Kings shall summon you to his immediate presence, from his hands may you receive a crown of glory, which shall never fade away. Right, excellent sir, you will seat the excellent king in his station. Right, excellent sir, you present the excellent scribe for installation. Excellent companion, the office of scribe to which you have been elected is very respectful and important. In the absence of the high priest and king, you will succeed to the performance of their duties. The efficiency of this institution ought never to suffer for the want of intelligence in its proper officers. You will therefore perceive the necessity of you possessing such qualities as will enable you to accomplish the duties which are incumbent upon you in your own station, as well as those that may devolve upon you in the absence of your superior officer. The purple robe, which you now are symbolically invested, is an emblem of union and is calculated to remind you that the harmony of this chapter should be your constant aim. And to this end, you are studiously to avoid all occasions of giving offense or countenancing anything that may create divisions or dissensions. Your jewel, which is a plumb line surmounted by a turban, is an emblem of rectitude and vigilance. And while you stand as a watchman upon the tower to guard your companions against the approach of those enemies of human felicity, intemperance, and excess, let this faithful monitor ever remind you to walk uprightly in your station, admonishing your companions to fidelity and industry while at labor, and to temperance and moderation while at refreshment. And when the great watchman of Israel, who never slumbers, never sleeps, shall relieve you from your post here on earth, may he permit you in heaven to participate in that food and refreshment which is such as saints in glory love. Right, excellent sir, you will seat the excellent scribe and present the who else?
Captain of
The
host.
captain of the host for installation. Companion, your office is one of importance and demands your zealous consideration. It corresponds with that of marshal or master of ceremonies. You're to preside at the introduction of strangers among the workmen, and as strangers can only judge us by the sincerity and the evidences that we afford them, you will be careful that the utmost order and decorum are observed on all occasions. You will be attentive to the commands of your chief, and always be at hand to see them duly executed. You are now invested with the jewel of your office, and I presume that you will give that study and attention to your duties with the most importance that it demands. Right, excellent, sir. You will seat the captain of the host. Right, excellent, sir. You please present the principal sojourner for installation. Companion, your office corresponds with that of senior deacon in the preparatory degrees, and although subordinate in the degree, is equal importance to say any in the chapter except that of your chief alone. Among the duties that are required you are the preparation and introduction of the candidates are not the least. As in our intercourse with the world, experience teaches that first impressions are often the most durable and the most difficult to eradicate. So it is of great importance in all occasions that these impressions should be correct and just. Hence, it is essential that the officer who brings the blind by a way they know not and leads them in paths they have not known should be well qualified to make darkness light before them and crooked things straight. Never permit our ceremonies to be converted into frivolity. Your past exertions are a pledge of your future assiduity in the faithful discharge of your duties. Right Excellent Sir, you will seat the excellent Principal Sojourner and present the Royal Arch Captain for installation. Companion, your office corresponds to that of junior deacon in the preparatory degrees, and it is your duty to assist the captain of the host in the examination of visitors and to obey his commands during the introduction of strangers among the workmen. The white veil is now entrusted to your care is emblematical of the purity of heart and rectitude of conduct, which should actuate all those who seek to pass through it into the sanctuary. Never suffer anyone to pass your post without the signet of truth. You are now presented with the jewel of your office, with the expectation of your duties being performed with intelligence and propriety. Right Excellent Sir, you will seat the Royal Arch Captain and present all the Masters of the Veil for installation.
We are the partial master of the veil, sir.
Wow.
2 out of 3 ain't bad.
Companions, you have been appointed Masters of the Veils, and to you are entrusted in the guarding, in the proper manner, of the sanctuary and counsels of your companions. And you are to suffer none to pass but such as are duly and truly qualified, are of a humane and charitable disposition, and who prove their genealogy and have in their possession the passwords of our Father. To you, Master of the Third Veil, is given the honor of protecting the Scarlet Banner and symbolically a sword which is now given to you to aid you in your duties. The fervency and zeal which should actuate all Royal Arch Masons and are the distinguishing characteristics of this order are signified by the color of your banner. To you, Master of the Second Veil, I now present to you the Purple Banner and symbolically this sword for its protection and bid you a reminder that as purple is composed of an admixture of blue and red, it is therefore placed between the first and third veils to denote the intimate connection existing between Royal Arch and ancient craft masonry. To you, Master of the First Veil, I give in charge the blue banner and symbolically a sword which you will use with sleepless vigilance in its defense. The color of your banner denotes friendship and as such is used as the characteristic of all Master Masons. Companions, let your friendships be sincere and disinterested. Be firmly united in the cause with which you are now engaged and zealous in the discharge of all the duties of the office to which you have been appointed. Then, although every rod become a serpent, and every serpent an enemy of the craft, yet will your utmost vigilance and strongest exertions be as impotent as the leprous hand or water spilt upon the ground, which cannot be gathered up. Right Excellent Sir, you will seat the Masters of the Veils in their stations and present the guard for installation. Companion, having been appointed guard of this chapter, you are now invested with the jewel of your office. And I present to you this sword, which will enable you to more effectively discharge the duties of your office. It is your duty to guard the door of the chapter on the outside, to report any who would desire to be admitted, to see if they are properly clothed, to place the chapter room in order for convocations, and to attend such other duties as may be required of you by this chapter. Your punctual attendance at every convocation is essentially necessary. Right, excellent, sir. You will seat the guard in his station. The companions of Richmond chapter number 467, Royal Arch Masons, will rise. Companions, behold the officers of your chapter for the ensuing capitular year. The nature of our institution is that such must, out of necessity, rule and teach, while others must, of course, learn to submit and obey. Humility in both is an essential duty. The officers whom have been elected or appointed to govern this chapter are too conversant with the rules of propriety and the laws of this institution not to avoid exceeding the powers with which they are now entrusted, and you are too generous disposition to envy their preferment. I therefore trust that you will have but one aim, to please each other and unite in the grand design of doing good and communicating happiness. Finally, my companions, may the annual recurrence of these solemnities be always hailed by you with great rejoicing by you and your successors until time shall be no more. And then may we all be permitted to meet in the realms of bliss, where troubles come not and the weary are at rest forever. Everyone will please rise. Right, excellent sir, you will make the proclamation.
By the authority of the most excellent Grand Royal Arch Chapter of Texas, I now proclaim the officers of Richmond Chapter number 467 duly and constitutionally installed.
Congratulations. You may be seated. Thrice illustrious sir, if you and your king, most excellent high priest, if you and the scribe and king will put your hats on, I will take mine off. You weren't prepared, sir? Oh, okay. I want to thank you for the opportunity to have conducted this installation for you and your officers this year. Thank you for letting me use this unique gavel. You didn't think I would actually use that, but I did just for you. That gavel head's on backwards, by the way. Huh? Yeah, exactly. Congratulations, my great friend.
Thank you so
I'm
much.
here for you if you need anything.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I knew it was fitting a little funny. Who's that for?
No, it's just a microphone.
Is it on? Right. Yep. All right. Companion, Zinski, companion, high notes. I have all the grand poops is what I generally call all you because have all the honorifics. But thank you all so much for doing this. Thank you all for attending as well. Um, we do have another one to do, so I will not be long on this speech, and we will go ahead and get started on the next one. Thank you. So, but first, where is? There you go. Past High Priest Choke, would you meet me on the west side of the altar? I didn't check GPT today. Okay. On behalf of all the companions here, I want to thank you for an excellent job and for making history as the 75th past high priest of Richmond chapter. Thank you so much. Great job. I enjoyed serving under you, learned a lot from you, and you have taken this chapter to another level and left the wood pile higher. And I pray and hope that I will continue to do the same. This is your past high priest apron. Wear it with pleasure. And thank you so much. You want to wear it now?
No, hold on, because I know it's gonna come off shortly for another installation, so. But if I may, just real quickly, it's been my real honor to be the past high priest, during, this particular year. And I appreciate, the willingness of the, companions to allow me to hold this office, as well as the, Christ Electors Master position, during this 75th year. In light of the fact that our very illustrious, past Grandmaster Jasinski is his year, or at least partial year as Grandmaster. So, being that we are very good friends, it was meant a lot to me to be able to serve as thrice illustrious, to have him install me. And as far as accomplishing everything that we did during the year, a lot of it was, it wasn't me, it was us. It was the team that came together. We did a lot of things. The chapter and council have come a long ways, and I'm proud. I'm proud of all of you, the work that you did, the way that you supported things. One of the things, uh, sir, is that you always want to strive to, end your year, and from a succession standpoint, have the right folks to be able to hand things off to. And I feel good about that particular aspect. Besides running the year, that is one of the most important things. This, organization has been around for 75 years, um, and it needs to continue. And we need to expand and continue to do more, related to, being in York-Wright Masons. So I wish you well. All of you well during your year. And I'm not going to repeat this, obviously, when we do council, but guys, thank you for honoring and allowing me to lead during this past 75th year. So, thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you. And also, there's more. There you go.
This is beautiful, by the way. So, Bradley back there, as I understand it, and made the aprons, right? Which is a
Wow, that is beautiful.
So this is so special. Thank you for all your hard work and thank you for doing all that.
Also, Grand Chapter of Texas Royal Arch Masons, since his past high priest is certified that companion Christopher Mark Choate is a past high priest, Richmond Chapter number 467, Royal Arch Masons, Richmond, Texas, having served for the year ending AD 2025, and as such is recommended to the craft wherever dispersed. Thank you again. And also, but wait,
There's more.
we want to present you with your past High Priest Jewel for serving a dynamic, fanatic year. So thank you so much. And if you don't mind, I would love to do the honor of placing that on you for at least 5 minutes.
Pocket's open, right?
If not, I know companion Burnt has a knife, and we can get that pocket. Thank you again.
Thank you so much. So,
Love you.
love you too. Appreciate you.
You're gonna do great.
Let me just declare it closed, right? All right. Did any other companions have anything? You want to introduce your guests in the when we do council? You can do that if you like. Yeah. Okay. So I'll go ahead and close this one out, waiving further ceremony, and now close this open chapter. All right.